We live in a beautiful world. A world that provides us with many necessary needs such as water, clean air, and warmth. A world that brings us lots of opportunity. We can go to school, are able to heal sick people, and make contact all over the world. But still, a lot of work has to be done. The temperature on Earth rises, water level rises. Not everyone is able to protect themselves against the consequences that may have. We have a responsibility to protect the world, to ensure next generations can also enjoy life on Earth like we did. We need to help people around the world who are less able to protect themselves against the high temperatures and rising water. Of course, lots of children like me can go to school, can play whatever sports they want, and travel the world. But also, a lot of children do not have access to school, do not get the health care they need, and aren't able to play outside. That is why I'm happy that you all came today. You all should use these days to learn from each other, to share good practices, and to make new partnerships all over the world. So please, do your best. It is important to accelerate all the good initiatives that are already taking place and to create new ones. You can make the difference for your generation, my generation, and the generations after us. Equal opportunities for everyone. That is my dream, and you can make it happen. Today, tomorrow, now. Thank you.
And thank you, Ayla, for your marvelous words. Give her a big round of applause again. Ayla. Thank you. The future is now. Accelerating public service innovation for Agenda 2030. This is the theme at the United Nations Public Service Forum and Award Ceremony 2017. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome here at the World Forum in The Hague, the Netherlands. My name is Donatello Piras and I am your moderator for today and tomorrow. In this two-day forum, we invite you to take a closer look at public service innovations in a variety of interactive sessions, such as the plenary session of today, within the 8 tracks after the break, at the reflection tables, and of course also tomorrow at day 2 and during the awards ceremony. And there is a big role for you during all sessions, ladies and gentlemen, also this plenary session. And therefore we will use the Buzzmaster system, an interactive system which you can use through your mobile devices. And we not only have a digital system, but we're fortunate to also have a human being here on stage, and it is Marieke Scholz, the Buzzmaster in person. Give her a big round of applause. Welcome.
Hello.
Good morning, Marieke.
Good morning, Donatello.
And good to have you here because we need you to maybe shortly explain how can people connect with Buzzmaster.
Yeah, so we are Buzzmaster and our goal is to have everybody involved during a seminar like this. And we have asked you to log on to the Buzzmaster network, and what you need is a smartphone. So if there is anybody without a smartphone, take a look at your neighbor, the person and select the Wi-Fi network Buzzmaster. And when you've made a connection, you can go to your browser and then you type in buzzmaster.nl. And then you see a logon screen and you type in your name and you press start, and then you see a screen with an avatar, and you can move the avatar, and I will show you how it looks like because you've seen the info.
Look.
This is you.
And this is real time, is it?
It is. It is. And while the people are logging in, we can...
And if you just move your avatar, you see the movement right on screen. So this is the living proof that these are not fake accounts. This is you here in the World Forum in The Hague. And if you happen to have an iPad instead of a smartphone...
Tablet is fine too.
A tablet works as well, huh?
As long as it's smart.
Okay, let's start, due to the time, of course, with the first introductory questions, just to get into the system and to get into the conference.
Donatella, can we, because there are still people logging on, can we do an exercise on this? Because there are so many nationalities.
Yes, of
and
course.
Of course we are in the Netherlands now, so I wanted to see whether the Dutch can move the avatar to the left and the other people, all the other nationalities, can go to the right of the screen. So we can see, great. I wonder whether Samvel Grigoryan, yes, you're moving great.
I'm in the middle.
There are still people in the middle. Maybe they're thinking, I have two nationalities. Which one shall I choose? Could be.
You like to work out in the morning. I understand.
I do.
Let's switch to the first question, Marie.
Let's go to the first question. Okay, so you are in the Netherlands, as I said. And where do you think of when you are in the Netherlands? Is it the windmills? Is it the tulips or the bicycles? As you can see, we have many bicycles in the Netherlands. Or the dikes? Or are you just a lover of Dutch cheese?
I see that the bicycles are very popular, and cheese, though, 5%, which is a little surprising to me, actually. But, well, normally...
Bicycles, they are the winners.
Yeah, tulips, bicycles, windmills, actually, both for people that already have visited the Netherlands, but maybe are here for the first time.
Excellent. Okay. And I see that people are still logging on, so continue doing that, because we really like to participate, have your participation.
We switch to the second question, Marieke.
Yes, we go to the second question. So, what are you? Are you a man or a woman or neither?
We have 50-50. This is a perfect, well, look, almost. Well, the women are in the majority, ladies and gentlemen.
That's great. Most of the time we see more men than women, so this is excellent.
That's great. Let's switch to the third question.
Okay, so we would like to know, what region do you represent? Is it Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean? Is it Western Europe and North America, or Asia and the Pacific, or Eastern Europe?
And what do we see is...
Mostly Western Europe
and North America, but also Asia and the Pacific are 20%, 14% Africa, Latin America 9%, and Eastern Europe slightly rising right now. So this is you again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the next question, introductory question.
Okay, so this question is going to be that you have a free text, and we would like you to tell us what do you expect of this forum, and you can just type in what you expect, and we can create a word cloud.
And preferably in one word. And the bigger the word, ladies and gentlemen, the more people have actually said the same. So, for instance, inspiration, ideas are the two very popular words right now, isn't it, Marieke?
Networking as well.
Oh, well.
Share ideas, great.
Learning.
So
best
that's a
practices.
Good start.
Still typing. Ideas, share, networking, inspiration.
Well, we can see what's most important here for you, for the audience. Ideas, sharing and networking.
So this is a great start already. And we also prepared a fifth and last introductory question, Marieke, for the audience before the welcoming words.
Yeah, so we would like to know, what would you wish for Ayla and her generation?
Yes. For the next generation, for Ayla and her generation throughout the world, what could we wish for them? Beautiful words, of course, happiness, peace, abundance, prosperity, a safer and a better future.
And look how many people have filled in something.
This is warming. This is great. Green and healthy world, education, paix et prospérité. Job, peace, happiness, democracy, sustainable world, to be able to lead new generations.
And also a word cloud, peace.
Wow. And ladies and gentlemen, we will use the Buzzmaster with the plenary session and also in a couple of breakout sessions to get you connected and to know your ideas, suggestions and remarks. So thank you very much for the introduction, and we will be back at the end of this plenary session, and well, you will be there as well. Thank you so much for now. Marieke.
Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly switch to the welcoming words, and I will giving the stage to 3 people right now. And the first one to speak is the mayor of the beautiful city of The Hague here in the Netherlands, Mrs. Pauline Krikke.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to The Hague, the city whose honor it is to host this United Nations Public Service Forum, the ideal place in which to hold this meeting. As a UN city, The Hague wants to help create a better world for today and tomorrow. We do that not only by providing housing for international organization and hosting conferences. Over the last few years, The Hague has focused on becoming an international center of academic expertise, also in the fields of government and public administration. Many of you will be familiar with the International Institute for Social Studies that has been based here since the 1950s. Generations of managers, directors, governors, and other leaders of many countries have studied here. More recent is Leiden's University, newest faculty of governance and global affairs located in The Hague. A rapidly growing number of young people are graduating here and returning to their home countries, with knowledge now part of their baggage, knowledge gained in The Hague. But The Hague wants to offer more than international executive education for the senior managers of tomorrow. The Hague also wants to share with other cities its own knowledge and expertise in the field of public service, wherever they may be in the world. A specific example is a project we do in Lebanon. Together with the International Cooperation Agency of the Association of Netherlands Municipalities and with the support of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, public officials of The Hague are helping Lebanese municipalities with the reception of refugees. This relates to the very real and everyday matters, such as how to deal with the problems of refuse. The Hague shares its knowledge and expertise in this area and others. And in so doing works with the UN institutions like the United Nations Development Programme, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and UN Habitat, with this ultimate goal of strengthening resilience in the region. In August, I will be visiting Lebanon to see for myself what the situation there is like. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this was just one example of exchanging knowledge and experience in the field of public service. Undoubtedly, today and tomorrow, you will be discussing many more such ideas and initiatives. Ideas and initiatives which will help to achieve the sustainable development goals. I wish you all every success. You can rest assured that The Hague will always give you its unconditional support. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, Pauline Krikke, the mayor of the city of The Hague here in the Netherlands. And now for the next welcoming words, I'm very proud to announce the Minister of the Interior and Kingdom Relations for Netherlands, His Excellency Mr. Ronald Plasterk.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to our beautiful country. As you know, God may have created the earth, but the Netherlands were created by the Dutch. I hope you will have a chance to look around, and you should realize that every meter that you're going to see was man-made, was created, was planned, was built and designed. So even if you see a forest or a tree, keep in mind somebody thought, let's have a forest there. So it's a product of technology and of public service that you're going to see here. It's very important that you're here to discuss the public service because we're under a lot of pressure in the world. The threat of climate change, the worries about terrorism, and at the same time we notice that the trust of the public in government and in public service isn't growing, but rather it's diminishing. So more than ever, we need to think about the role of government and defining the role of government. We should put that in the context of the fact that a lot of functions that used to be assumed to be in the public domain and therefore the subject of the public sector are now being done by other communities. And that's the product of technologies, as we've just witnessed here, but also a growing population of people that are literate and that are educated and have the time and the energy to take care of their own business. So we see a wave of what is being referred to as creative destruction, where functions are taken over. In the past, if you wanted to know a fact, you would go to the public library, and now you Google. If you want to have a room in another city, you would go to a hotel chain, and now you go to Airbnb. If you want transport, you go to Uber. And there's Amazon.com, and there's Bol.com, and there's all these companies that all started by individuals with initiatives, obviously scaled up and commercialized. So we need to redefine the role of the public sector in that context. I think what we should not do is to team up with big multinational firms and fight that wave of new technology, but we should sit back and redefine the role that government has. There is certainly a strong role, because all of these initiatives can only function if there's the context of a state of justice, of a good financial system, of a good identification system for which government is responsible. But also institutions will redefine their roles. So maybe people don't go to libraries anymore to check a fact, but people will go there, for example, because in this age of the internet, they feel unable to catch on, and they need support to find their way on that internet, and then they can go to the library and find that support. So you see public institutions redefining new roles in the new world. We need to do that. In this session, we can open up to each other, open our minds, open our hearts, sit back and see how other countries find solutions. That, of course, in the age of digitization which helps us a lot. Think of the time you needed for getting a passport in the past, or filling out your tax form, which all has been automated right now. So we have a lot of advantages from digitization, and we need that new technology. So as I said, our country is a product of technology. Right here where we stand is below sea level. So the reason there's no crabs crawling around here, but you're sitting here with your feet dry, is because we adopted new technology a couple of 100 years ago. The dikes, the windmills. We need to do that again. I was talking to the CEO of a big energy corporation a couple of days ago, and of course we're going to get fuel energy out of the cities in the decades to come, and electricity will be the carrier of energy, because it's the most practical way to have that, it's the cleanest way to have that. But you have a huge storage problem. There's plenty of energy around with the tides and the waves and the sun, but that's not always at the time that we need it. So part of the technology will be to work on batteries. I don't think government will do that. It will need to be done by innovative industry, but part of it by organization. But just making sure that we can buffer the energy that's being caught and make sure that it is caught at the time when we can also apply that energy. It's an organizational matter, and that's where governments are good at. So we really have a vital role to play here, also when it comes to new energy. We have to do all of that in a new context, with new parties. The first layer of government that we had, in a way, active in our country was the waterships, where the dikes and the mills were being applied to make sure that the community kept their feet dry. But now we have many layers of government, and it's not a single layer that's being important. So we have to find a new style of government. And the way I would like to define that is say that in the 19th century, we had government 1.0. That was the government that had laws to say you're not allowed to do this, you're obliged to do that. If you break the law, you get a fine or you go to jail. The government of the 20th century was the government that was trying to seduce people to do things or to discourage them to do things, and they used financial instruments. The government of the welfare state used subsidies or taxes to encourage or to discourage. Now, I would argue that government 3.0 is a government that takes all the relevant parties at the table, invites them to sit down and say, look, we obviously have an issue. How are we going to tackle that? It's not because I'm the boss of you or you own me, but it's because we all see that there's a common problem. We recently in Europe have seen that approach working when it came to the refugees. How do we deal with this number of refugees in our countries? It's not the way that the minister tells the mayors of the cities, you have to do this, because they have their own responsibility. So what you do is you invite everybody to sit at the table, say, look, obviously we need to find solutions. How are we going to do that best? You sit with different partners, and I think that's the horizontal type of public sector that we're going to see as a mainstream product of the 21st century. So we have to think big, we have to take the lead. Sometimes in the private sector, people generate suggesting that the public sector can't do anything. But that's totally wrong, and you can read up on all your literature on how the internet was invented and how antibiotics were developed for mass-scale use in the Second World War and all that. There's plenty of examples that illustrate that it's the public sector that can and will and shall deliver answers to all these big questions. So we need to have trust in what we can do. We have huge questions. Climate control has been mentioned. Reducing poverty. It's working beautifully. If you look at all the statistics, how much poverty has gone down over the last 100 years, it's amazing, but we're not done. So we have to keep working on reducing poverty. Accessible healthcare. People want to live healthy and long lives. That's one of, we saw the word cloud. I'm sure if you ask in the street, what do you want the most for yourself and your family, your children, your parents, people would say healthy lives, long lives without disease. And of course, we want opportunities for the youth, and I'm glad this session was opened by a youngster in an amazing fashion. So we're here to do that together. I think with your dedication and enthusiasm, we will have a wonderful session, and we must, because the trust of our citizens is at stake. Together we can make a difference, and we must make a difference. The future starts now, and I wish you a wonderful meeting today.
Thank you. Thank you again, the Minister of the Interior and Kingdom Relations for the Netherlands. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, for the welcoming remarks, I would like to give the stage to the Assistant Secretary General for Policy Coordination and Interagency Affairs of the United Nations, and the stage is for Mr. Thomas Gass.
Honorable Mayor Krikke, Minister Plasterk, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here with you today in this opening of the United Nations Public Service Forum. We're gathered in The Hague, the city of global peace and justice. Indeed, as you said, Madam Mayor, an extremely suitable place to celebrate the United Nations Public Service Day. I wish to express my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to you, Honourable Minister, to your ministry and to the government of the Netherlands for hosting this forum. And thank you all for the dedication, for the efficiency, collegiality and creativity that marked our cooperation over the last months. The imposing World Forum Convention Center, where we are gathered today, only attests to the impressive organization of this high-level event. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 years ago, leaders of all countries gave themselves 15 years to transform our world. They adopted an ambitious set of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the so-called SDGs, to give us through this unprecedented, to take us through this unprecedented endeavor. The SDGs, and sometimes they're also called global goals, call for both domestic and international measures in each country, developed and developing. They reflect the aspirations of all countries and of the many stakeholders that inform the negotiations of this 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And let me just say for a few minutes why this is so important, ladies and gentlemen. We've always known that we are on a track to globalization. But a globalization to where? The 2030 Agenda is the missing piece of our globalization puzzle. It is the vision piece. And it is not just a vision piece that says we will live, humanity will live in peace and we will, or in prosperity. The Sustainable Development Goals is a vision that is measurable. It is a vision that does not prescribe how we reach it. It actually allows and requires every government and every municipality to develop its strategic plan to get there. But it is a vision that is measurable and that is being measured. It is a vision that is strong and that is shared by 193 countries, thousands of representatives of civil society and interest groups came together in 2015. Over 5 million individuals were surveyed to come to these 17 goals, 169 targets. It's something extremely powerful. It is a social contract that actually shifts the accountability from your usual run-of-the-mill, if I may say, agreement between member states to a promise made by the leaders to their people. And that is where public service is in its sweet spot, ladies and gentlemen. Governments have the lead role to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. They have the responsibility to act and to galvanize action by civil society, by the private sector and by other stakeholders. Shifting the world to a sustainable development path and improving the lives of all people, including the poorest and most vulnerable, requires a transformation of institutions. We will not go very far if we only tinker on the margin. Only a major shift in the way governments deliver on their functions can rebuild people's trust in their government, which has been faltering in so many countries. And this also applies to the multilateral system. So when we and my team here are from the United Nations, we are part of this movement of civil servants and of public servants. And the discussions this week are very much also important for us. People demand a new approach to governance and to public service delivery. As one example, during the consultations on the 2030 Agenda, combating corruption was among the top aspirations people expressed. This is why the 2030 Agenda commits to making institutions effective, inclusive and accountable. In other words, fit for purpose. This is enshrined in the 16th SDG, the goal 16, and if you haven't seen these goals, I really encourage you to go online and to click on the goals, because, ladies and gentlemen, these goals are clickable. Under each goal, there are targets, and under the targets, there are indicators, and your governments are going to be monitoring those indicators and those targets. And every year the United Nations is going to bring together the statistics from the whole world. But that's not enough, because that is exactly what I said, is the information coming towards the center. What is important here is the accountability to the people, is that governments, that municipalities take this discussion to the parliaments, to the municipal councils, to the school assembly, where this accountability can be an accountability to the people. That is what is important, so that it doesn't just depend on whether a government is in favor or not. Reaching the Sustainable Development Goals and transforming our world requires the action of governments, the mobilization of civil society and the private sector, and an unprecedented engagement of civil servants. Civil servants are privileged and powerful, ladies and gentlemen. They have responsibility to improve the lives of the people they work for within their constituencies, no matter how small, or for society at large. To transform institutions and put people at the center of public service, we need to mobilize the best expertise of public servants. We need to mobilize their creativity and empower them to take risks and try new ways of doing things, as we have just heard from the Minister. In brief, we need innovation so that no one is left behind. Excellencies, distinguished guests, governments are innovative. As we prepare for this forum, we saw an impressive set of innovations emerging from the applications for UN Public Service Awards. We will celebrate the winning cases tomorrow along with the UN Public Service Day. Indeed, I know that we will hear about many more innovations during our discussions here, notably in the forum's 8 thematic tracks on employment, health, energy, water, children and youth, the marginalized, cities, and a circular economy. We will also reflect on what drives innovation, notably leadership, participation, accountability, cooperation and technology. And together we will determine the actions that can shape the kind of government we want. A government that listens to the people, takes inspiration from their multiple ideas, and shapes a world that responds to their aspirations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations pays tribute to the countless public servants who are dedicated to excellence in serving people. We encourage them to commit to the Sustainable Development Goals and apply their creativity and imagination to pursue the SDGs and ensure the kind of inclusive, transparent and accountable society that can bolster people's trust in their institutions. The achievement of the SDGs will ultimately require commitment to the people and children of this world that the 2030 Agenda is not just a new deal among nations, but a solemn promise to its people. Let us make this shared vision of humanity our common cause. I look forward to engaging with all of you during the next 2 days of the forum, and I thank you very much for your attention.
And thanking Mr. Thomas Gas again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to announce 3 keynote speakers, then to the more content part of this plenary session. And first of all, I'm proud to announce the State Secretary at the Ministry of Public Administration from the Republic of Slovenia, Her Excellency Ms. Tanja Bogatai.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and privilege to speak to you at this opening session of this wonderful and also very important event, and on behalf of the Minister of Public Administration of Slovenia. And I'm sure that, like when I'm following this kind of encouraging and inspiring, welcoming speeches, I'm already full of drive and ideas how we can work even better together, and okay, let's do the job, let's make a difference like we feel when we are together in the boat to achieve our goals that we set for. Slovenia is a country where the 2030 agenda has been very well received and considered to be the most comprehensive development action plan thus far. And already in the early days of the process of preparation and accepting the agenda, we've decided that we will implement these 17 Sustainable Development Goals on a national level by embedding them into our own National Development Strategy 2030. And we see the importance of sustainability in a way that it means we need to develop more agile and adaptable policies for a better quality of life for all. And the policies need to take into account unpredictable, faster-paced and more fundamental shifts in the world. And saying that, it calls from us to develop a new approach towards planning for the future, but also working together and co-creating our common future. Of course, in line with sustainable development principles. And Slovenia has started its national-wide process of preparing a national development strategy to be forward-looking, to be inclusive, and we wanted to use this process not just to prepare another really wonderful strategy. We're very good at that. We're not the only ones producing nice documents. And also we are also good in having consensus on declaratory level. But this time we wanted to do it better, to use this process to really work together, to invite different stakeholders to be part of the process and to already own the ownership, not just the goals that we aspire for, but already the path towards it. And in between, already learn from each other and gaining trust and also gaining and developing new skills, how to understand each other, how to better communicate, and how to then work together and create together. So this is a process that we are going on now, and our ambition is to ensure affordable and stable social care system, ensuring the quality of life of aging population, adaptation of the educational systems for providing new skills, climate change. Those are all widespread challenges that we all face, and we even more will, with the causes and effects being very complex, and no one has the magic wand to solve them. But and also non-public sector organization can do it alone to have solutions to these increasingly complex challenges alone. And this new reality requires a different response of public system, and we considered it that it needs to be more open, more transparent, and more inclusive. And also our users, our citizens, they're demanding much more from us on a daily basis. They require user-friendly services, they require efficient and fast solutions, and also the possibility to be part of the decision-making and decision-taking. And also increased digitalization also requires the public system to adapt to the very mode of functioning, and therefore the levels of the very basics need to be redesigned. And oftentimes we listen that digitalization is taking jobs, and what are we doing about it? So we are trying to put much more emphasis on exchanging the knowledge, exchanging the experiences, and to be well in advance prepared to tackle also new challenges related to digitalization, and to use digitalization where it can help us to do a better job, to be more efficient, but still, or even more so, we will need to be humans now and for the future. We will need to create new skills, how to work together and to achieve the goals that we set for ourselves, which are huge to say. And that's why we also believe that the key word here is trust and probably resilience, how we build the system for the future, to keep it flexible enough to adjust, but also to keep it not, okay, we will set goals, we will create a structure, and then we will see each year where we are, but it's a daily work and daily process, and also we need to be open to readjust what we set for. Mainly in action phase, not the goals to be changed because we are not able to achieve them. And that's why we really strongly support introduction of innovation, or even more stimulate the innovation in public administration, and also trying to communicate with private sector that it's not, these cliches are not necessary working out anymore, that we all have huge amount of knowledge, experiences, but it is true that we need to learn from each other and exchange this knowledge. And in Slovenia, of course, we're trying to change the public administration from within on a daily basis, but we also create some interesting projects to help us out in this regard. One is innovative approach that we developed 3 years ago, Partnership for Change. I will talk about this more in the afternoon session. And it is actually about how to reduce the gap between public and private sector, how to building trust and not just tolerating each other, but really understanding and co-creating together and coming together with joint solutions for a certain challenge. And it's not the strategy that will be enough. We need to build the system that will support this content, and also the mindset of the public administration has to change, but not of the only public, but also the society as a whole. So it is about the culture, and it is about certain values that perhaps we need to nurture or bring back to the podium, or to be more cautious about. To conclude, I'm really looking forward for these 2 days of exchange and presenting to each other best practices and perhaps creating some new. We believe that innovation in public sector is essential in order to increase the productivity and efficiency, and also in a line not just have wonderful apps, wonderful tools like e-services, which then we have trouble that people will use or not use, but they are wonderful. But really to learn new skills, soft skills, how to communicate better, how to be more emotionally intelligent, and how to co-create then what we set for. And our goal is to have clear strategy, not to change it too frequently, the goals, but to do on daily basis small steps in the right direction. And we believe that also small countries can contribute to the global development objectives in extensive way. I wish you all the best in the next 2 days and fruitful discussion and exchange. Thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, proud to announce the next keynote speaker on behalf of Ecuador, the Minister of Public Health, and I'm proud to announce Her Excellency Dr. Maria Veronica Espinosa Serrano. And there she is.
Dear authorities of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, thank you for welcoming us in your beautiful country. Dear authorities of the United Nations, dear excellencies and delegates, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to share my country's experience and to represent my region. It's actually really interesting for me to represent my region, and I'll tell you why. My region is a, relatively speaking, young region. And as you can see, I am a young minister, and I represent a very young Ministry of Health. Ecuadorian Ministry of Health was the last Ministry of Health created in our region, so it's also a young institution. Last Friday, we were celebrating our 50th anniversary. So what's interesting is that youth and female gender are usually considered handicaps for being an authority at a national level. And I really think that youth has a lot of interesting qualities that have to be considered. The good thing about being young is that we are not afraid of making mistakes. And making mistakes is probably a very good way of learning, and learning from mistakes is probably the better way to innovate. I will be speaking to you about health because it's where I have some expertise. And I will be sharing with you a few of my country's experiences, and I really find interesting what the Ministry of the Interior said about redefining the role of the state. What we did in Ecuador was exactly that. We needed to redefine our role in order to comply with our constitution. After the arrival of our government, the Ecuadorian state has made remarkable progress in efficiency based on innovative proposals that in some cases have become an international reference. The 2008 Ecuadorian Constitution establishes that health is a right guaranteed by the state, which is directly related to the exercise of other rights, including the right to water, food, education, physical culture, work, social security, healthy environments, among others that support good living. In our process of restructuring the state, national policies with a universalist tendency were proposed, especially to the elimination of barriers allowing access to education and public health, seeking to universalize coverage. In the last 10 years, the Ecuadorian state developed a management model of high deconcentration and low decentralization. This model allows us approaching the management of services to the citizenship in order to achieve greater efficiency. In our commitment to guarantee the right to health, the Ministry of Public Health adopted this management model. This model allows approaching to the management of the services. I will mention a good example of how this innovative implementation had a positive impact on the health management at a very difficult crisis time, perhaps the worst crisis our country has experienced in recent decades. It is important to note that in the last 10 years, the policy of developing a 5-year national plan for good living was established. This, focusing special attention to create and strengthen a centralized planning based on national objectives. In the case of health, the objectives of the National Plan for Good Living are mainly articulated with the third Sustainable Development Goal, which refers to ensuring a healthy life and promoting well-being for all ages. Aligned with the deconcentrated management model and to achieve the objectives of the National Plan for Good Living, the Ministry of Public Health has a comprehensive health care model that organizes the entire system, providing quality health services to the population at no cost. This model establishes that the primary care level is the main gate to the national health system, where 80% of the medical care is provided. The primary care level guarantees closeness to people and attention at lower cost for the system, where we are convinced that health services focused on the renewed primary healthcare strategy are prone to succeed. This comprehensive healthcare model organizes the network for health providers in the sense that the country has developed the integral public health network, which brings together the providers of the Ministry of Public Health and other health providers all together. This is a very good experience to show innovation because it redefined the role of public providers in order to achieve the right to health. It is because of this initiative that we are here in the Netherlands postulating to the prestigious United Nations Public Service Award 2017 in the category of Innovation and Excellence in the Provision of Health Services. However, it is not the only health matter in which we have stood out. Ecuador became the first country in Latin America to accredit public hospitals internationally. It did this through Accreditation Canada International, which is a member of the prestigious International Society for Quality in Healthcare. In total, 40 public hospitals were accredited to meet international patient safety standards. Last year, the director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carice Etienne, recognized Ecuador for this achievement, among others. There are also other strategies that in terms of efficiency and innovation stand out in terms of health, such as the definition of types of establishments and many others that I would like to share with you today. Another important development of the country occurred with the implementation of telephone appointment scheduling in the health centers, for example, through a unique number at the national level. In 2016, 9,400,000 appointments were delivered to 730 establishments. In addition, the articulation of citizen assistance services through the ECU 911 system allows improving efficiency and effectiveness in responding to citizens in the face of emergency. The interconnection among the information systems of the state institutions, Ministry of Health, National Institute of Social Security, National Secretariat for Higher Education, Science and Technology, helps us to simplify procedures, to exercise better control, and to make better decisions based on reliable information. As a real example, as I said to you at the beginning, we can mention that Ecuador experienced an earthquake of 7.8 points on the Richter scale on April 16 of 2016. It was precisely in this context that the value of innovation made in the country was verified. This meant not only more efficiency, but greater effectiveness, and for sure, a proof of resilience. This is how the Ministry of Health, through its decentralized structure, was able to take care of the emergency since the first moments. Altogether, almost 5,000 attentions were registered in the first 3 days after the emergency. Our emergency management allowed that no person died or was injured in any of the hospitals during the earthquake of the evacuation process, although several hospitals collapsed and had to be evacuated. The integrated management of the health services through the integral public network allowed adequate and comprehensive health service provision with a full leadership of the Ministry of Public Health. Also, the deployment of international humanitarian aid was coordinated by the Minister to guarantee the provision of health in accordance with the national needs. There are still new challenges every day. However, we are truly convinced that political commitment with sustainable financing will lead us to guarantee human universal rights and, of course, to accomplish the Sustainable Development Goals. Finally, I would like to say that this wouldn't have been possible without the international cooperation. Good experiences need to be shared, and that bad experiences too, as I said. We need to learn from our mistakes as well as from our good experiences. Spaces like this invite us to do that. Innovation is about changes, and today more than ever, we all need to be committed to change our future as public leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the final keynote speaker, and that is the Director General of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. And I'm happy to give him the floor. Give him a big round of applause, Mr. Yong.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to address you today here, this important meeting on the accelerating public service innovation to bring us closer to the agenda of 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. First, I just would like to thank the government of the Netherlands and also United Nations Department of Economic Social Affairs for their excellent work in organizing this meeting. We are here today because we all agree on the importance of innovation for the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals. We're here to share best practices on the practical solution that we worked in our respective areas of work, and we are here to learn from each other about the groundbreaking approaches. This is why I just would like to take this precious occasion, to share with you some of my observations as well as examples of the work of United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, the ambitions of the global community for the achievement of 2030 agenda are very high. In order to achieve the sustainable economic goal, this is environmentally sustainable and target towards a long-term, we need a big vision. This means that we also need to rethink the roles of public and the private sector. Both and the private and public sector have important roles to play. They should work together. We call it a PPP, a public-private partnership. The public sector can facilitate innovation by creating sustainable, suitable conditions for innovation. It provides funding for education, research, and supplies the necessary infrastructure, establish links between science and technology and industry, offers appropriate financial tools for industrial development. Looking closer at the most important recent technology innovation, we witnessed the various types of public investment have nurtured innovations and have shaped and created market development. Investments behind the IT revolution, for example, we have been provided by the public sector across the entire innovation chain. Not just because this is an important area, it's a basic research. The important role of the private sector as a driver of innovation is evident and undisrupted. At the same time, the private sector needs the right incentives to invest in breakthrough technologies. In this context, we should also not ignore the fact that innovations in the private sector, which we initially stimulated by the public services, may eventually also lead to the innovation in the public sector. These observations seem true for both developed and developing countries. That is a kind of experience we gain from various operations from the past 50 years of UNIDO's operation. Excellencies, colleagues, widening knowledge, technology, and skills gap are precisely among the main development challenges that poor countries face today. And developing countries have missed earlier technology waves due to the high cost of technology, a lack of funding, and a weak infrastructure. This resulted in large productivity gaps and inequality in the technology development and the service provided to the general public. I'm therefore particularly pleased that this forum will address the question of how to mobilize public services to accelerate innovation in view of leaving no one behind. To overcome the challenges faced by developing countries and economies in transition, there's a role for the international community, including the UN system. UNIDO is one of that, and to support the private sector development, capacity building, and investment promotion and technology transfer. The only entity of the UN system or UN family mandated to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development, UNIDO has extensive knowledge and technical expertise in this area. We are making great strides in helping countries or member states achieve the industrial-related goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We are active in many of the areas that will be discussed at the parallel tracks in the course of today and tomorrow. At the UNIDO, we are convinced that industrialization is a driving force for the creation of decent jobs and growth and income for the local community and also for the global agenda, poverty reduction of 2030 agenda. Through our technical assistance programs and the policy work, we help the government identify the sectors with a high growth, employment potentials, and strengthen the capacity of institutions to identify opportunity for job creation for women, for youth. I look forward to sharing more insights on these activities in the speech one I will hold in today's track one on the job creation and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, track 8 on the circular economy is another good example where innovation can have a real impact and where UNIDO has a role to play. In today's manufacturing world, raw materials are turned into new products and not only be disposed soon after use. It is a linear process in which limited resources will eventually run out and waste accumulates at the end of the process. And this circular economy, certainly promoted by UNIDO and the international community, is a new way of creating value. In the circular economy, materials of new products come from old products. Everything is reused and remanufactured or, at last resort, recycled back into a raw material or used as a source of energy. This is a reality. This is not a theory. Through our concrete programs, we turn those things into the general public practice. A major way to support this is UNIDO implementing several programs related to resource efficient and cleaner production. Those financed by Switzerland more than 20 years ago, now spread all over the world, saving energy, saving water, use less to produce more. Those are the innovative ways to use the resources and create jobs. This involves applying strategies also to processes, products, and services to increase the efficiency as well as reduce risks to the human and environment. With the UNIDO support, a large number of companies, private sector, have learned how they can cut production-related costs, reduce inefficiencies, and at the same time reduce adverse environment impact. The industry should be sustainable, should be green. In other cases, UNIDO is extending resources efficiency beyond the borders of one company to groups of industry. A prime example is establishment of eco-industrial park in developing and emerging economies. These parks combine industrialization, manufacturing, transfer knowledge, creating jobs, and to promote a circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, no country can deal with the global challenges on its own. This is why at UNIDO we are convinced the partnership are the way forward. We created a program for country partnership. We work together with government, work together with international financial institutions like World Bank, Regional Development Bank. We work at the UN peers, work together with UN peers, and most importantly, colleagues, friends, with the private sector. And to move ahead with programs, support industrial sector, actually covering the subsectors based on the national situation. And this program is really moving at the piloting countries, Ethiopia, Senegal. Now we put Peru on the agenda. So I will introduce that in PCP program in the detail in the next session and the track 1. And this really focusing on creating job for women and the young people, and also protect environment. Ladies and gentlemen, UN Public Service Forum really provides a unique opportunity for us to share experiences, to discuss challenges, opportunities that we face in implementing innovative approaches. I really hope we can make best use of this opportunity for exchange. I hope this event will build many partnerships to accelerate innovation for us to achieve 2030 agenda. To achieve this agenda with concrete action. Only take action, we can achieve that. Only take action to promote innovation, we can achieve sooner and better our 2030 development agenda. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the speakers and together have emphasized and actually also underlined the need of innovation in the public service with collaboration with the private sector by redesigning their new role, by giving attention maybe for new skills, for new technologies, keeping of course the 2030 agenda in mind and the sustainable development goals in their hearts and as a guide. At the end of this plenary part, we would like to give you again a role, ladies and gentlemen, and therefore, Marieke, I would like them to connect again with the Buzzmaster system, of course, we have a couple of, let's say, more content-wise questions for you right now to use actually before the break and before we go to the 8 tracks, which I will briefly announce soon. Marieke, we have a couple of questions prepared, and of course you can see if we have 10% or maybe 80% connected again. What's the vote you give us?
Well, if you are connected again, we would like you to ask a question.
Yes.
Regarding this theme, because we would like you to know so what do you consider the biggest challenge for your country? And you can think of that for a while and then type it in, but I can see that many people know already what is the biggest challenge.
That's great, yes, of course. I mean, and this is a specific question in your region, in your country, of course. Because, well, nobody has only general challenges, you also have specific challenges, and we would like to know a little bit more about your biggest challenge for your country, and we can, maybe we could focus on a couple of them, Marieke.
Well, we see a lot of people saying climate change, youth employment, says Karma, Chitin, poverty and inequality, and what we see here is only just a tiny bit of what you're saying, because look at what you are saying now here. I see health financing. Also here, William Thijs says learning of mistakes, renew public service.
That's great. Learning of mistakes, not only best practices, but only use the mistakes that you make. This is great.
And Betty, there's a lot to do there. Youth unemployment, corruption, sustainable programming.
Implementation,
Implementation.
Yes. So that's a various scope, and I understand that as well.
And Simone here says digitization.
Very important as well.
Yeah.
Digitization. I see a lot of youth involvement, youth unemployment, of course, youth employment. Dia Natalisa at the left is still typing, but maybe we could highlight Dia Natalisa, the transfer of knowledge for best practices. Let's not underestimate the importance of this, the knowledge for best practices. And of course, that is why in the breakouts and in the tracks you will be giving attention to that as well.
Donatello, shall we try to make a word cloud out of it so that we know what together you say is the biggest challenge, which is a climate change?
Okay, we could make a picture of this to remember and commemorate, yes. Corruption, security, youth, poverty. So even asking you in your specific countries, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually the general picture that comes out of it. Poverty, education,
Yeah, and so, well, of course, we are, today you're having those different tracks, and we wanted to ask you a question. So, which theme do you consider to be the solution for this challenge?
Yes, and,
so we have
and they have to
four.
pick, they have to choose.
Yeah, you can choose only one. Sorry for that.
So leadership and capacities, transparency and partnerships, the policy coherence, the technological improvements, and we see that leadership and capacities is by far a big majority of 54% already right now, the theme that you, the audience of this forum, considers to be the solution for the challenge. But let's not underestimate transparency and partnerships, where at almost 30%. Of course, the technological improvements, they can't keep up quite with all the other, with the former two, but still 8%, and the policy coherence with 14%.
So Donatello,
yes?
you know that we ask a few questions in the beginning for
yes.
where you're from. So maybe we can see whether there are differences
right.
between the different regions.
Yes.
So let's see what the people from Africa have said.
Aha.
So they say, 33% say policy coherence. And the people from Western Europe, this is what they have replied.
They
so
go equally
there is a big difference between the regions.
Yes.
Eastern Europe, leadership and capacities.
Zero
And
technological improvements, that's quite...
we have Asia and Pacific.
Oh, wow.
And
A very
Latin
high
America, the
focus.
last one. So there are many big differences between
There's a difference,
regions.
yes. And of course, it's a big world.
And maybe we can see whether the men and the women differ. So this is what the women say.
Yes.
And this is what the men say.
We always have we always have a focus on leadership and capacities as a man. I know. Could you put the women again up? Okay. I'll go with this one. I'll go with this one. Okay.
So we have a little bit time left. Shall we
yes,
do
yes, well, I would like
mini UN conference between the audience? So
a little buzz, you mean?
A little buzz.
A little buzz.
So
yes.
what we would like to do is we have those themes, and maybe you have already found solutions within those themes for your challenges. So what we would like to do is go to your neighbor, the person next to you, and discuss for just 1 minute how you solved a problem or how you think you can solve a problem, and then you can type it in. So how it works is you see a text thing, and then you can text it, and then you have to select one of those themes. But first of all, I would like you to talk to your neighbor just for a minute and discuss how you solved the problem or think you can solve the problem.
And after the music finishes, we will have the results.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can start now. Have your mini conference. Yeah. And then we will see the solutions.
Die kun je niet drill down, hè, deze?
Ja, dat kan wel, maar ik weet niet of dat interessant is. Oké, nee, dus laten we dat maar niet doen. Sunil has...
So, how, ladies and gentlemen, did you solve a problem within the teams?
Within leadership capacities.
And we already have 3 results, but you still have time to discuss it.
Yeah.
And I'll leave you for half a minute still to think, and then we will take a closer look.
And within, ik word niet versterkt. Ja. Laten we maar gaan. Laten we maar beginnen.
All right. I see that for the most solutions are names already in the transparency and partnership theme.
Indeed.
Could we name a couple?
Well, I don't know. You can hear me. So it's quite a lot. So maybe I can make a selection again.
Yes, please.
Say in Africa. Let me see. Western Europe. Yeah, there they are. So Western Europe, they found solutions in the transparency of partnerships. So Susha said improve environment by co-creation with citizens.
Okay. Would like to see the improve and the urban agenda for the EU. Curious to know how that would look like actually. The urban agenda for the European Union. And actually Western Europe and North America, of course, is this.
And Jeremy Millard said, talk to citizens. Let me see what we have more.
And would like to know, could we go to because in the more masculine column, the leadership capacities, what are the solutions there? How could we solve the challenges within that team?
Let me see, here Rudy says new training models for public service.
All right.
It's a lot that's getting here.
Peter Glas says make our leaders accountable.
Yeah, and let's see what we else have.
Leaders with an open government or open state vision, stated Nelly Valdivieso.
And engage leaders on merit.
So on their capacities actually, yes. Yeah. Public ethics, and I like Robertus. Could you focus on Robertus? The youth participation in politics and in open government. I guess he's participating in the 5th track later on, where we are focusing on the youth as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe the last one before we have to conclude, Marieke. In the policy coherence, maybe just pick one of the solutions.
Let me see. Need a better coordinate at the center. It says Cuban. I hope I pronounce it right. Need a better coordination at the center of government.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, this, of course, we can't give everybody the floor to emphasize their solution, but I can say that we will maintain all the solutions that you have written here. So thank you for your inspiration. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, the program will continue after the break with 8 parallel tracks. And the 8 parallel tracks will treat 8, of course, overarching themes. And the overarching theme is public service innovations from around the world. The future proving governments and leaving no one behind, and especially that part is very important. The participants will join one of the 8 tracks, which innovators will present their good practices. And well, without reading them out loud, you can see it from job creation to enabling children to the circular economy. There's work to do. I will give you the possibility. I wish you a splendid first day. I thank you, Marieke, and we'll see each other back on the second day. Wishing you a splendid day 1, and thank you for attending. Thank you. Grazie.
Sit